It's that time again, time for Final Fantasy Ultra Champion Edition. Do not play this game if you're not a champion in Final Fantasy. Today we are going to tackle the Oasis, if we can. In the NES release of this game, this was not a dungeon. It was not even an area. It was just a shop with a shopkeeper who sold one item, and that was the bottle for 50,000 big ones, 50,000 gold. Now, in that game, that was a pretty significant chunk of money, but by this point, you should have enough money to spare to spend 50,000 on a bottle. I was not sure what it was going to cost in this one. Someone in the town of Gaia even made a very clever joke, I thought, about who knows how much a pirate would charge or a thief would charge for the OXYALE. But things have changed in this one. As you can see, it is now a dungeon. And we have a tricky random battle here. I have seen this battle before. The Basilisk and Tricker battle. Basilisks are your typical lizard-type enemies in this game. They're weak against ice. But they also have, like you would expect a basilisk to have, they also have status attack stone. So they have, I guess you could call it stone touch. Now there I was lucky to have a Tricker run away from us. The Trickers start casting spells, starting with Bolt. Then they work their way up through the Bolt family of spells from Bolt 1, Bolt 2, Bolt 3. And remember, all of the Bolt spells are all targeting, so they really start piling damage into your party, which can be a real bummer if you have Basilisks also stoning your party members with their stone touch. So I'm using a lot more of my higher level spells than I normally would in just a random battle or in a trapped square battle protecting a chest. I'm using a lot more than I normally would. I'm going to try to stone the Basilisk myself with my soft spell. Ice 3 not doing a lot of damage to those Trickers, so they are not as weak to ice as the Basilisks are. They probably have another elemental weakness. I think they might be actually weak to Bolt. And there we got rid of them. Just to get them out of the way. Don't mind using a high-level spell charge to get those guys out of the way. We don't always necessarily need that golden experience. And with the Basilisk paralyzed, we can sit back a little bit here, thanks to Galaxy, which I found to be a very useful spell. One of the things that ROM hacks for this game do, when they do make this game more difficult by boosting hit point values, one good thing about that, not that it's a bad choice anyway, but one good thing about that is it does make status spells much more useful, much more practical than in the NES version of the game, where you would almost never want to spend a turn or a spell charge casting something like Stun, when you could cast a high-level damaging spell instead, because random battles or protected battles like that are so short. And even boss battles in this first game are relatively short. Most boss battles only last a couple of rounds. If you're at an appropriate level to tackle the boss, generally you're only going to be putting in 3 rounds or so with most bosses. Chaos is a different story, mostly because of his really high magic resistance. But the other bosses, if you're piling in the best level spells you've got into them, and you have physical attackers with fast, unfortunately temper does not work in the NES version, so you can't temper them up, but you can use fast, which of course is called haste in this one. But battles last a lot longer in this one when you have higher hit point values. So things like Galaxy are much more useful than just throwing a high-level damaging spell at them that is not going to kill anything. It's going to maybe speed up your battle by 1 round or so by doing pretty good damage, but I'm surprised we don't have a random or a trapped square there. The Mithril Robe will be very helpful. So Galaxy got some use there with the Basilisk battle. Unfortunately, Galaxy does have to pass a magic accuracy check, and its accuracy seems to be less than that of Soft, which makes sense because Soft is single targeting and Galaxy is all targeting. Of course, it should have a little bit less, but yeah, but there have been a number of battles where Galaxy has fallen short on me and paralyzed no one, or paralyzed maybe just one of 4+ dangerous enemies. So it's certainly not a guaranteed proposition, but if you can get someone paralyzed and put to sleep, that really makes your battle much, much easier. I used that a lot in my grinding battles with the Magitex. Now here we have the center of this kind of spiraling dungeon. We're actually in sight of the opening area if you can't quite see that, but we have an empty treasure box. Now, the author of this patch, who you should check out on YouTube with the link in my description, has hidden things outside of normal chest tiles before. So I'm searching this room to see if there's something. And the empty treasure chest suggests there should be something here. Also, the fact that I have not found anything of note suggests there should be something here. But right now I'm just walking around in the sand, and I touched an exit tile, which is unfortunate. So now I'm examining where my exit tiles are in this one, and I get into another three Ankylo fight with the Ankylosaurs. They are susceptible to the soft paralyzing spell, or a stoning spell. But so it looks like to get to that center area again, I'm going to have to wrap around. All right, so here we go. Back on in once more through. So something is up and something is funky in that center area. We have an empty treasure chest, maybe cueing us into the fact that there's something around. I'm guessing that that's what that is. I'm guessing that empty treasure chest is a cue, is a signal. So we're gonna have to look harder. We're gonna have to look harder once we get to the center. The Sandhag and Rogue combo is one that we've seen quite frequently, and I think it's a good random battle formation for this game. It's very much in the spirit of the original game of battles that are meant to drain your resources, not just your healing resources, but also your time resource, your investment of time. Now, modern games, of course, don't. They kind of avoid things that are meant to take some time to do, because they are filling their games up with content. Final Fantasy I had to be very economical about their content and had to create things like this that took some time, kind of deliberately slowed down the pace a little bit. And that's a good battle for that, because big formations of enemies that are difficult to run from are just that. You get plinked and poked for a lot of damage as you go through the dungeon, so it depletes your healing resources. And those battles, just because you have lots of actors acting every turn, take some time to do. So the Rogue Sandhag combo, trying to run away from them, just have plink, 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 can't escape, plink, plink, can't escape. So that's a good battle formation very much in the spirit of this original game. And I do applaud the fact that it is a runnable encounter, that running is much more a part of this patch than other patches. Some patches, difficult patches, make many or most even random battles inescapable, which of course is an even larger drain on your resources, because you not only are depleting your healing resources, but you often have to use your spell charges just to get through those random battles. You don't have the option to pop out and continue on. But those games also have a lot more of the free casting items, like the heal staff and the Zeus gauntlet, etc. So those battles are a little bit easier for the player, or a little bit more balanced to the player's favor. But now that we're crawling this for a second time, we're ready to find that treasure. I'm using that first empty treasure chest as a clue that there must be something else in here. Obviously, I also haven't found the treasure, so we're going to look around more for it. First, I'll inspect this room again, although I think I looked at it pretty thoroughly last time. And there's nothing. The tables or chairs, they all seem to be devoid of things. Now, here's another back attack from the rogues and sandhags. We were talking about them being a good battle for this kind of game, to deplete your healing and your time resources. And that is okay in an old school of thought game like this. It would not be very big in modern games, but no problem. All right. Back to the room. Nothing under the table, nothing in the chairs, and if I go up and around, I get close to those exit tiles, but here we do have a little oasis, and I start examining the oasis tiles, and on the very first one, I pick up the OXYALE, on the very first one. So let's just get the heck out of here. There could be more hidden stuff in that little lake in the oasis, but I'm not going to look around for it, at least in this one. I spent enough time in that dungeon after having to backtrack to find the hidden OXYALE, very cleverly hidden in the oasis. I'm not quite sure, and no one has ever really made it clear to me. Maybe the later translations of the game have made it more clear as to what the OXYALE is actually supposed to be. Is it supposed to be oxygen? And if so, what kind of container is it in? Is it also in a bottle? Or do we have breathing masks? Or what is it? It's just mentioned in the English version that it lets you breathe underwater. Now, muscle memory prompted me to start heading towards Gaia because that's normally where you take the bottle, or you can pop the fairy out of the bottle anywhere in the world, and then the fairy will appear in Gaia, because you need to get the OXYALE from Gaia. But in this patch, that part of the fetch quest has been removed, so now we can head directly to Onrak, although we have to take a different route because the world map has been rerouted a little bit, so we can't park where I normally did. Muscle memory from the NES version and other versions where the world map has not been changed much took over there. First I started heading to Gaia, and then I started parking my airship where you can normally go up to the river and paddle your way to Onrak, but we have to park our ship at a different place now and walk over to Onrak. I'm guessing that was done because the ship no longer needs ports to dock, and so I'm guessing that some of the changes to the world map here have been made because of that. I don't know. I am not sure. It does not matter because I wouldn't be able to afford it anyway. We're going to rest up, and then we're going to head over to where the submarine normally hangs out to see if there is indeed a lady waiting for us there who is blocking the submarine but will let us through if we do have the OXYALE in our inventory. Checking with some of the townsfolk to see what kind of text changes have been made. And there indeed is the lady by the submarine, and she does indeed let us by. So next time we will tackle the Sea Shrine or the Sunken Shrine. If you did enjoy this video, please feel free to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you have not already, and leave me a comment. I would love to hear from you. We will see you next time for more exciting Final Fantasy Ultra Champion Edition action.